At the weekend, Manchester City with that 4-1 win over Liverpool, but matched by Arsenal's 4-1 victory against Leeds. Well, while we have the family rivalry in the studio, it is an 8-point gap. However, it's not by any stretch of the imagination over and done with yet, because there's a game in hand for Manchester City. Win that, it goes down to 5. There's a game to be played at the Etihad at the end of April between Manchester City and Arsenal. Win that, and suddenly the gap is down to 2. There is no wiggle room for Arsenal.
You wouldn't expect any wiggle room at this stage. And at every juncture, people are still looking for Arsenal to slip up. In the last 4 games, they've been thinking that, and Arsenal have been very professional, and they've kind of swatted teams that people thought would have given them more trouble. Yes, Arsenal cause themselves more problems when they don't score first. You know, they kind of have to get into a game, and then bam, we see what happens, like we saw on Saturday. But you know, you look at City, and the City have navigated this time of the season immaculately, and you look at them now, and they seem to have hit form in the way they're playing. Jack Grealish was really, really good the other day, and the way they're playing, you have to feel like. Of course, people think they're favourites, but I'm still going for Arsenal to do it simply because they're in the box seat. They have to lose these games. City have to win these games. We know they're capable of doing it. But Arsenal themselves are on a brilliant journey. It's one of the greatest journeys I've ever seen.
It's going to turn into a documentary narrated by Samuel L. Jackson as the Arsenal players make their way.
I'm very excited for them. It's a young team, and they're doing something now that could really set them in good stead for the future. So this is why it's important that Arsenal finish this off. And like when you set the scenario about the game in hand and the City winning the games, and then it's down to 2. Everybody, you've still got to try and take that next game and win that game and go from there. That's all you can do.
But for Manchester City, they've clearly got the title now and catching Arsenal in their sights. You can see it just in terms of the level of performance that Righty was talking about.
Yeah, you can. I think still with that game in hand, you'd rather have the points on the board already. I think Pep did an interview a few months ago, and he said he knows to catch Arsenal and Arteta, they have to be at 100%. Every game, and even with that, they still have to hope Arsenal slip up. They haven't done that yet. I think it's tough. I think as much as I want to sit here and take the mick out of my dad, Arsenal are in the driver's seat, and it's their title to lose at this precise moment in time. But,
but they need to take 23 points from the remaining 27 to be absolutely sure of getting the title. Miguel, it's so tight. That is not impossible that they drop those points, and it's not impossible that City are perfect between now and the end of the season.
Especially not with Europe as well, given that you'd think that would take a bit of focus from City. But then maybe that can sometimes work the other way, where they're so driven, like, say, United in 99, that you just suddenly, that consumes you on all fronts. One of the things, I was there at Arsenal on Saturday, and one of the things that struck me, though, I went to that game, I watched City-Liverpool there, and I was expecting to be really tense because of what happened with City. Like, oh no, it's all going to change now. And it was just like, it was, I mean, it was sort of enjoyable day out that you don't associate with, like the title races of the 90s, the one you were in 98 or whatever. It was remarkable. And
that's going to be key, isn't it, as we head into the sort of latter stage of the season, that ability that Miguel's talking about, of just managing to manage the emotions, to navigate that kind of tension.
That's the thing. We've seen a couple of times where teams have come and they've caused Arsenal problems, but they've got through it simply because they're playing a good brand of football. They're all confident in what they're doing, and you've just got to get that done. You've just got to get it done now. However you get it done, that's what we've got to do. Because you looked at our City brush Liverpool the other day. That was imperious. They were brilliant, and we've got to make sure that we just beat who we've got to beat. We don't have to beat it in City style.
We asked Arteta about that after the game, and he was talking about how he wants the players to enjoy. He kind of made the analogy of how if you're in a tight title race, you can feel like you're gasping for air, feel the oxygen, and kind of like. Did you guys actually enjoy the races?
No. It was so tense. It was like switched on all the time.
Thinking about it every minute of the day.
No doubt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting if he can get them to be thinking and being relaxed. And you look at them, they do look relaxed. You see them walking around. It's not tense faces like that when you're walking up. But I found
Imagine if it was though.
But like I remember because I was injured for the last time. But once I got back on the bench and everything, everybody, it was very intense leading up to it. And stuff like that, because you know what you're going for.
Every game is going to feel like that between now and the end of the season, and Arsenal looking to play Manchester City towards the end of April. You sort of feel it's going to come down to that game one way or another between Manchester City and Arsenal at the Etihad. Miguel, Sean, lovely to see you as always. Righty and I will be back at the same time next week when I'm sure it will all have changed in terms of the race for the top four. It will all have changed at the bottom of the table once again, and who knows?
The offensive players on, I think it's very positive.
In fairness, he probably wanted to stay on to get a hat-trick in his first start since November the 12th. Let's go back to that first goal, which seems like a very long time ago in the first half. Things could have been very different if it had been goalless at the break, Gary, but Ayling slashing out almost onto the knee of Jesus.
Yeah, Arsenal were always going to win the game, but, you know, I'm surprised at Ayling. He's an experienced defender. I don't like defenders going to ground anyway, but he goes to ground, and then once Jesus goes past him, he seems to throw his left leg out when, you know, he's certainly not going to make any contact with the ball because the ball has gone, and he might just make contact with the player, and that's what he did. I'm really surprised, Philly, for an experienced defender. Are you?
Yeah, I think it's a poor attempt to stop the attacker, and yeah, he gets punished.
Yeah. To concede 10 minutes before half-time as well, when you've had opportunities to take the lead yourself in the game, Igor.
Yeah, that's what happens. You know, the mistakes cost you big time when you play against a team like Arsenal, who doesn't need your help to create chances to score goals. You know, I would say that Arsenal passed the test, playing after City, and now didn't show any weaknesses in terms of, you know, dealing with the pressure. They played and they deserved the win very convincingly. I would say they won the game. The goal scored came from, you know, different sources. They got so much positive out of this game. Jesus back in the team scored 2 goals. Then right back scores the goal. Midfield player scores a goal. When Saka is not on the pitch, you need to have this variety and of threat going from anywhere else, and that they've shown that they're on the right way to win the title.
Okay. The second goal coming so quickly after the restart. A few things I want to point out. First, how good was Martinelli's precise ball across the box? Secondly, what is White doing so high up considering what his natural position is on the pitch? And thirdly, should Leeds have done better to try to intercept the pass in the first place?
It's when the quality of this ball is gone, it's very difficult to even stop it. We see the positions of the centre-backs of Arsenal really dominating the area. We have people all over the area of Leeds, and then you see the right-back in a weird, strange position really for a right-back to be. But with that type of service, that type of ball, you know, it's very inviting to be there and thereabouts.
Eye of the needle, Gary. Eye of the needle.
It's a quality delivery, isn't it? And, you know, Ben White's scored a number of goals this season now from that right-back position, which, you know, at the time, this looked as if it was potentially a valuable goal. And it's given them the platform, hasn't it, to go on from that position and win the game comfortably.
Yeah. Trossard involved in Jesus' second goal. Nice interplay.
From the very first game.
As the Arsenal man here, when you look at January signings Arsenal have made in the past, where does he rank amongst the best? Because at the top of my mind, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang came in the January transfer window. I think Andrea Sharvin came in the January transfer window. We all know Trossard came in January. Is he right up there? Because if they win the title, he's had a huge say in this. Massive.
Yeah, I wouldn't only mention him. I think the type of signing and the moment that Arsenal are in, it was very important to bring players in that didn't need time to adapt, but that could fit into this team straight away. And we saw that. We saw that with Trossard. We saw that with Jorginho, who has played in and can play into that holding midfield type. And I think Arsenal have been very smart in the players that they've brought in.
Yeah. How important is a January transfer window for a team? Actually, one that's trying to fight relegation, one that's trying to fight for the title, and one that's trying to get a Champions League position or a European spot of some sort.
I mean, it could prove to be crucial. We mentioned one player. He you know, really contributing largely to Arsenal being where they are at the moment. On the other side, when teams in a relegation fight think about their survival, this is the only real chance to change something, and it's maybe even more important for them to make a good signing. So I know in the past people didn't really, think that this is a good time to bring new players. But nowadays, when the money's gone up and when everything is, really, it's in a balance, as we said in the league table, everything is within 3 or 4 points. Every point counts, every goal counts, and then if you can add some more quality, whenever you can, you have to do it.
Yeah, and you get a feeling, perhaps, Gary, we're going to take a look at Jesus' second goal now, him linking up with Trossard. The fact that Trossard was probably brought in to cover for Jesus, who they knew was going to be injured until April.
Well, I don't think there was any risk in taking Trossard. He's proved himself as a player at international level with Belgium. He'd thrown the towel in at Brighton, and Brighton wanted to get rid of him. But again, it's Arsenal getting numbers forward for this goal. It's intricate passing, it's good movement. Jesus picking out Trossard, and I think the commentator said, Trossard managed to glance across and see the opportunity. He doesn't. In that position, you just deliver it in that little corridor of uncertainty, in front of the keeper, behind the central defenders, and you expect one of your teammates to get on it. And Jesus, that's his food and drink.
Yeah, I think in the January window, what is important is to continue with the same momentum, not unsettle the team. What you could do is do a lot of business and unsettle the balance in the team. I think Arsenal haven't done that. They brought in quality and players that could fit in straight away into what they're doing. And this is very, very difficult to pinpoint, the exact player. But you bring in 2 players that are unselfish and that can fit into what they're doing without changing the dynamics of the team. And that's, on point.
Yeah, there was a consolation goal, though, for Leeds United. Bit unlucky for Zinchenko, the deflection. Would you blame the goalkeeper in any way? It was very close to him, but it feels a bit harsh to say that Ramsdale should have done better.
It took deflection, and the ball was struck with quite some power. And in the end, I think they deserved at least the goal, from what they've shown, especially in the first half. So in the end, the scoreline was a fair one.
I can tell you, goalkeepers hate conceding. And he's going to be furious. Even though they won, he was unable to keep a clean sheet today, Ramsdale.
Yes, I think he will be, but Leeds does deserve something. They had a good organisation, they had a plan. Unfortunately, they came up against a good Arsenal team.
Yeah, and Zinchenko, really not much more he could do here. Feels like it would be too harsh to say otherwise, Gary.
No, I suppose the only thing is, possibly as the ball breaks to Christensen, Zinchenko could be moving forward towards the ball, and then maybe he gets a fuller contact on it. But no, I think you have to give Leeds United some credit. And I said, didn't I, that in their last 4 Premier League games, they've managed to pick up 7 points out of those 12. And if they do that to the end of the season, then also in their last 2 Premier League games, they've scored 6 goals. So they've scored another goal today. How many teams have managed to get anything out of Arsenal this season? Not many.
Yeah.
This was, if Leeds got anything out of this game, it was a real bonus, and they haven't. So it wasn't a game where they were expecting to pick up points to help them survive.
Yeah, Leeds seemed to be keeping a very close eye on Granit Xhaka throughout the course of the entire game. But the one moment when he wasn't watched by Christensen, Odegaard floats in the ball, and who's there? Granit Xhaka. Finish it. Goal. 4-1.
Yeah, we talked about his more advanced position, and we saw he's capable of doing those runs into the box and also picking passes, and he's done that today. Fantastic run. Obviously, you need a great quality to pick out that pass, and I think Odegaard, with the amount of running that he's done, winning balls back and creating things for his team, and then having still the quality to do this is brilliant.
Yeah, we can see here, floated in for him. Granit Xhaka has become a goal-scoring midfielder, which, that's never a bad thing.
No, it's always a bonus for any team. As I said before, you cannot relax when Arsenal is on the ball, because they make runs. They are very mobile, especially those players in advanced position. They are never, standing still. The ball is always moving, so it's very, very difficult to play against and to defend against a team like that.
Yeah, I want to ask a little bit about Odegaard. He is the captain. We know that. He's on course right now to be the next Arsenal captain to lift the Premier League trophy, but he's still such a youngster. Reminds me of back in the day, it would be Tony Adams and then Cesc Fabregas. Were you at the club when he got made captain? I can't quite remember the dates exactly.
Me neither.
No. It's
Maybe.
But he was very, very young as a captain,
Yes.
Cesc Fabregas.
Very influential.
Yeah.
And you can see that in Odegaard as well. Very influential for Arsenal's game. He's unselfish. He runs for the team. He does what the team needs to be done. He doesn't do things to make himself look better, but he does what the team needs. He's also the relay of the coach on the pitch. You can see that as well. He comes to the side and speaks to Mikel Arteta and relays that to the rest of the team. He's a real leader, and you could see today, even sometimes he was the one pressing on the center defenders and continuing the runs, and not pressing one time but continuing to the second one and to the third one. And this brings a lot of energy to the rest of the team. It's contagious.
Yeah, I guess age shouldn't be an issue, but was Fabregas a good captain for you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Even despite his age?
Yeah. He was so influential for the game, What Arsenal needed was to give the ball to him in the right positions, and he would pick out the passes. So for sure, he was also a very good captain, a lot of character, and that transmits to his teammates.
Yeah.
What would I add about Odegaard? Although he's still quite young, he's been through a lot in his career, and we can see this maturity in his game and in his behavior and his influence on the other players around him. At the beginning, he was, one of the best young players in the world. He went to Madrid and didn't have the best of luck there. Then he came to play for Arsenal. In the beginning, nobody really thought that he's going to be that good, and that seems to make him a better player, to make him a player who understands everything more about the game than the players of his age. He's been tested physically and mentally, and he came on top. And this season he's been brilliant. I believe if you ask Mikel Arteta which player he would like to always have on the pitch, he would say Martin Odegaard.
High praise indeed.
Yeah. Speaking about Arteta there as well, and I'm sure he doesn't reference Manchester City, but Arteta was at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola while they were winning trophies. And of course, Man City are still right up there. And I just get the feeling that he is able to say to his Arsenal players, do this. If we do this, we will get results. We will get success. And the players know that that's how it was done at Manchester City. Plus, with two ex-Manchester City players now being very much involved there, Zinchenko and Jesus as well, I'm sure they are also speaking to the Arsenal players as well and say, this is how we did it, and this is how we already have Premier League winners' medals. And the work rate, Philip was just talking about the work rate of all the players. To win the league, there's no easy way of doing it. You have to graft, you have to work extremely hard, of course, coupled with great talent as well. Arsenal do look very much like Manchester City in lots of ways, don't they? With that work ethic, with the movement, with the discipline. Everybody knows where everybody is almost at any given moment because of their shape and what they do on the training park.
Could argue made in Barcelona, both Arteta and Pep.
There you go.
And here we are, decades later within the Premier League. Who are the unsung heroes? It's very easy for us to talk about Odegaard. He's assisting goals, he's creating chances, he's getting goals himself. It's easy to talk about Granit Xhaka because of the amount of goals he's getting this year. Bukayo Saka as well. What about some of the unsung heroes? Because seeing someone like Rob Holding, he's not going to play week in, week out. Up until recently, it was always Saliba. Now, he's got a slight injury issue. He should be back soon, but he's able to step in. He's able to play when needed.
Yeah, these guys, the guys that you need in those moments are the unsung heroes for sure. But you need those to go on a full season and win games. We've seen when Gabriel Jesus was injured at first, Eddie Nketiah came up and scored some very important goals. And now Saliba is out. You have Rob Holding doing the job, and I think this is the important part in this Arsenal team, that any single player that comes in does the job and knows exactly what the manager wants from him, and I think that makes the difference.
Okay, I want to go back once again to North London to get a few words from the two-goal hero for Arsenal today. Here's Gabriel Jesus.
And then try to help, you know. I want to score every game. If you ask me, I want to score. But sometimes, you know, can happen. But I'm more important with the 3 points than the goals, you know. So, yeah, congrats for the team.
I guess it was pressure, though, wasn't it, when you had the opportunity to score from the penalty spot? So what was going through your head at that point?
Just be calm, be myself, you know. I always shoot. I joke with Zina joked with me yesterday because we was practicing, and he knows me a long time ago. And then I just take the penalty yesterday like I always do, you know, stopping. And he say, in the game you never do this. And I show him some clips of my penalty shooting, and obviously, you know, I was calm, and I remember him as well.
Yeah,
yes.
well, you got it right again today. So another 2 goals for you as a team, another 4. Tell us about the hunger in this side to win these matches by 3 or 4 goals. Is goal difference something in the back of your heads when you're out there?
Well, of course, to compete against a strong opponent, you know, like a team who score a lot of goals is not easy. So we look at this as well. But like we said before the game, don't think about goals, you know. Goals different. Think about the points. It's more important. But sometimes, if you have a chance, you have to score. You have to go and try to score more and more and more, because at the end of the season, there's a count.
Well, listen, well done. Congratulations. Another great result, and well done on the goals.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Many thanks to Gabriel Jesus. I sometimes wonder, what is Pep Guardiola thinking? The fact that he let 2 players be sold to Arsenal. Do you think he believed that Arsenal were going to be title contenders this year?
It's difficult to know what he was thinking, but I don't think that he believed that they will be that good. He knew that he will make them stronger, not only, you know, personnel-wise, but this mentality-wise. But I don't think he would, you know, expect them to be that good. But now maybe he regretted it.
Yeah.
He regrets it. But that's football. Jesus wasn't happy in Man City, and they probably had a Haaland lined up in that position, so there was no point of keeping him there. I was a little surprised about Zinchenko, who was a really good player for Man City, and on that left side position, they know what he was thinking. But I don't think that he believed that they will be that good. He knew that he will make them stronger, not only, you know, personnel-wise, but this mentality-wise. But I don't think he would, you know, expect them to be that good. But now maybe he regretted it.
Yeah.
He regrets it. But that's football. Jesus wasn't happy in Man City, and they probably had a Haaland lined up in that position, so there was no point of keeping him there. I was a little surprised about Zinchenko, who was a really good player for Man City, and on that left side position, they never really had found a good solution. Cancelo has played and played really well first part of the season, but since he left, you know, they didn't find a perfect solution for that position. So in the end, I think he might think about it sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up, Cancelo, the fact that he left in January to Bayern. By all reports, that he had a falling out with Guardiola. I'm sure he wished he still had Zinchenko.
Yeah, or at least someone at that position. I think they're lacking for sure someone that could overlap
They
with
put Bernardo Silva there for one
Yes,
game. Do you remember? early this season?
We talked a little bit about Grealish, but I think it would help Grealish maybe to have someone overlapping and giving another option, maybe knowing that Grealish will come inside on his preferred right foot. They've been changing a little bit what sort of player will play in there. It's also the balance. We know Zinchenko liked to come into midfield, and he was comfortable doing that, and he does that for Arsenal, and they're lacking this at City. They've been using it from the other side probably more.
Sliding doors, Gary. Sliding doors. You just never know what's going to happen. With one player or two players can inspire another team to new heights, new levels.
Sure. Well, if you look at the end of last season, when Arsenal actually fell away a little bit, didn't they? Didn't qualify for Champions League football. I don't know anybody who was saying at that stage that this season Arsenal would be the side that they are, that they would not quite run away with the league, but they're now in a position where it looks like they're going to probably win the Premier League for the first time in, 19 years. So I think possibly Pep Guardiola looked at it and said, well, you know, who are our biggest rivals potentially? And of course he would have said Liverpool, but they've struggled this season. I don't think he would have said Arsenal, and Arsenal are. Again, it kind of brings you back to the unpredictability of the Premier League, doesn't it?
Chelsea.
Yeah.
How they've fallen apart this season.
Exactly.
Had to change their manager. Tottenham have lost their manager as well. There were high aspirations for them, the way they finished so strongly last year.
Guardiola is that confident in his own ability and his own decision-making that, you know, even if he makes what is deemed to be possibly a mistake, and that's what we're suggesting, you know, did Guardiola make a mistake in letting Zinchenko and Jesus go to Arsenal? He will believe that he can rectify that mistake, if indeed that's what it is.
Or maybe everybody can be happy. Arsenal win the Premier League and City win the Champions League. There you go.
Everybody happy, did you say?
Well, not for you, Gary.
No.
Not if you're a Spurs supporter.
A technique like that make it easy for a person to correct errors. A technique like that saves a person pride and gives him or her a feeling of importance. It encourages cooperation instead of rebellion.